This podcast is intended for adults 18 years and older. It contains explicit language and sexual situations. All thoughts and opinions expressed are of our own and not of those of any specific group, employer, or individual, and is not intended to take as professional advice.
Welcome to the Foreplay Podcast. Join the journey, experiences, and sexual adventures of two high school sweethearts navigating through the swinging lifestyle as millennials. Come along for the ride. Dare to play?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Foreplay Podcast. This is Bella.
This is Jase.
We are so excited to do this review for you guys, and it is about the Desire Greece Turkey cruise that happened in September of 2024. We do want to be completely transparent here first. This was a collaboration and partnership with Desire Cruises, and they are the reason why we were able to go on this cruise and experience this cruise, and we are so grateful and thankful for them and also for you guys to be listening and for letting us experience these kinds of things and to share our experiences with you. And you know that we are completely honest and transparent in all of our reviews and all of our experiences that we do and we go on, and all the clubs and all the places and all the vacations. And so we do want to say that this is completely 100% our thoughts, and we did have an amazing time on the cruise, but there are some things that we would have liked to see differently or maybe changed for in the future. And so we are really excited to share our thoughts and everything with you guys, and let's go ahead and start the episode.
So our first piece of advice with Desire Cruise is book early. These cruises seem to just be booking out earlier and earlier. For example, there is an Asia itinerary that just got announced for November 2026, and it is sold out. That is 2 years in advance. It is already sold out. So if you are interested in booking a Desire Cruise, we would definitely recommend trying to book it earlier than later, just because they're clearly getting even more and more popular, and we definitely see why. So if you are a person who is looking to book one, I definitely would consider booking earlier than later. Also, you do have to realize with these ships, they are much smaller, generally between like 600 to 1,200 people, and so that does make them fill up even earlier. So just another reason, if you do want to book, we would try to book earlier, because the ships are going to fill up faster just because, well, they're also smaller.
And if you do plan on going on a Desire Cruise in the future and our content helps you out at all, if you guys consider using our links to book your cruise, it's completely free to you, but it helps us out a ton. It just helps us be able to continue to make content like this for you guys. And you can find all of that information at foreplay.com/desire. That's number 4, OURPLAY.com/desire. All the information for the future cruises will be on there. And again, if our content helps you out and you'd like to support the channel, it's completely free to you, just helps us out a ton. And okay, now let's go ahead and keep going on with more of Desire Cruise.
So if you guys are wanting to see like some behind the scenes, what the ship looked like, all the food, all that kind of stuff, we did vlog every single day of this cruise, as well as we did a video review that has some pictures, has the playrooms, has videos of all that kind of stuff. So if you do want to see any of those videos, we'll have it linked down below, or you can go to foreplay.com/YouTube. That's number 4, OURPLAY.com/YouTube.
First things first, the cruise is all inclusive. That's going to include your food, drinks, including alcohol, and your cabin, and access to most of the amenities around the ship. We also had Wi-Fi. This doesn't include premium alcohols all the time. It doesn't include things like excursions and spa amenities. Some of those things aren't included, but a majority of things are included. Just like a normal cruise ship, that is included. There's like classes and stuff, and we will go more into that later on, but we just wanted to do like a complete overview real quick of what is included. And then the length was 7 nights, and the itinerary was, it started out in Athens. It actually was in Piraeus, which is maybe about 20-30 minutes away from Athens, Greece, and then it went to a couple places in Turkey and then back to Greece, and then it ended back up in Athens. And we'll also talk about the specific ports later on as well.
So size of ship, it was on the Oceania Riviera, and this actually was Desire's largest cruise they've ever done. It was 600-ish rooms, so around 1,200 people. In the past, they've done them on Azamara ships, where normally around 300 rooms or 600 people. So this definitely was a bigger ship for a Desire cruise.
We personally like when the ships are bigger. However, this was was our first Desire cruise. And when we were talking to other guests who have been on Desire cruises previously, we did hear that some people did like when it was smaller, and then this seemed a little bit more jarring for them, being, like twice as much bigger. And so something to keep in mind. You'll just have to look up in the future Desire cruises what ship it will be on. The specific ship will determine how many people are going to be on that specific cruise. But for this one that we went on, it was the biggest one, but it's not necessarily going to always be like this from now on.
And why those people that we talked to that said they liked it smaller, they said because it was smaller, it felt a little bit more intimate, where to us, it being 1,200 people compared to like some of the other cruises already felt more intimate. So I think it's one of those things that's really just a personal opinion. So me and Bella like to talk to as many people as possible, make the most connections, where some people I think like that smaller, tight-knit group. So I can definitely see it going both ways and just being a personal preference of if you like a few more people or if you like even that smaller, more intimate type group.
Moving on to demographic, the average age we would say would be around 45 to 60. There were people in their 40s, some in their 30s, and we met one couple in their late 20s, but it was a majority 45 plus. It was harder for us to find people who were closer to our age, and we do think that this has to do more with the itinerary is a lot more intense, and it is a longer cruise, and you do go outside of the US. So because this was a Mediterranean cruise, that could be why the demographic was more to this rather than a younger demographic. However, it was an amazing itinerary, it was an amazing cruise, and I don't think that it should only be people who are in an older demographic. I think it's also that there's not that much information out there, and whenever you're younger, I know that it is a bit more difficult to get the scheduling and timing and all of that in place, and so it's a more of a time commitment to do a cruise that ports out side of the US. And so hopefully with us having this review and just more content about it, we'll get more people just knowing about Desire Cruise in general, and hopefully it will shift so it's more of your typical bell curve in the future. And it is couples only, and so singles are not permitted to go, although you can get rooms that have 3 people, and so you can do triads, but no just singles. And it's not only for lifestyle couples, it's all open-minded couples who enjoy a sensual environment, although we do feel like a majority of people that we did talk to were in the lifestyle, or at least knew about the lifestyle, and so that's really good. We thought that the demographic and the people who were on the ship just were so incredibly nice and just very interesting. I think that because it did port outside of the US, there were a lot more couples who I guess had more travel experience too, and so it felt different in that aspect, which we personally really liked. We just felt like we met more of a variety of people. And then one thing that I thought was interesting is I thought it would have been a majority Europeans, but it actually was more a majority people from North America, even though it ported out of Europe.
Yeah, that also was surprising to me. It's not like, I mean, it makes zero difference, but it just was interesting because I guess I thought in my head, I was like, oh, we're going to meet so many people from so many different places around the world. And I do feel like it was more from North America, which it makes zero difference. But it was just interesting because I would have thought that if it was so much closer for people in Europe, more people from Europe would have been on the cruise, but I think they said it was around 80%, so that's just an interesting little tidbit. So the next part we're going to talk about is how this ship is organized and kind of the flow. I'm actually going to go over the flow of the ship first. So it reminded me of the Desire resorts, where there tends to be a way that people kind of move throughout the day. I feel like people would kind of get up in the morning, they would go have breakfast, whether it's at the actual breakfast buffet or the breakfast dining room, which we'll talk more about the food later. And after that, I feel like most people would get off at port and maybe, do an excursion, just walk around for a while. But after they finish doing the port, get back on the boat, and then depending what time it is, maybe have like a lunch or a late lunch. I feel like after that, a lot of people kind of went to the pool, and then once once the pool time was kind of over, people generally got ready for dinner, had dinner at maybe like 7:30, 8, just depending on, what time you wanted dinner. And then there was a show every day at 9:30. And I feel like quite a few people went to the show every single day. And then the show was around 40 minutes. So at around 10:15, lots of people would go up to the Martini Bar, which was a place that kind of played live music, and people would kind of sit there, have a cocktail, talk, dance, hang out, and then some people would stay down there, or other people might go up to the disco, which is basically where they threw the party. It's just the party room. They called it the disco. Lots of people would go up there and continue to dance, and then I feel like, that at that point, the night just kind of went wherever, where some people went to the playroom, some people went to late night food, some people went to bed, but it kind of had that flow every single day, which I feel like I really enjoyed because you kind of knew where people were going to be, so it was easier to find people in that sense. And so I like that it kind of had that flow and kind of people all did the same types of things, so I really enjoyed that.
When it comes to the bars around the ship, there was the Martini Bar that Jase was talking about. That was definitely the most popular bar, we would say, and they did have just amazing martinis and drinks, and all of the different bars did have their own menus, and that was really nice that you can just look through and flip through and see what you wanted to get, and all of it was all inclusive, and so it was really nice that you could just pick and choose what you wanted. And then there was also a casino bar that was kind of close to the Martini Bar, and so if that one was a bit busy, that is where we would end up going to get our drinks, just because we didn't have to wait as long. There were bars at the nightclub or the disco, and there were little mini bars within there too, so we felt like we could get drinks pretty easily at any of the bars. And you could also order drinks at the buffet area or whenever you were getting dinner. You could also order your drinks whenever you were eating, so whether that be at the buffet area or if you were at dinner. And then one of our personal favorites was a coffee bar that was just a normal coffee barista's place at the beginning of the day into the evening, and then it turned into a coffee bar at night. You could get alcoholic coffee beverages throughout the entire day, but it was kind of cool that it kind of shifted at night. And I got the most amazing drink that ended up being one of my favorite drinks ever that I've ever tried, and it was called an Aspen coffee, and it was from a recommendation from the bartender at that specific bar. And it was really cool because you could look over and you could see the pool area. They also had a little side section at the barista's bar that had different little food hors d'oeuvres that I guess you could say, just tiny little bites. Yeah. And that was really nice.
So next, about how that was kind of set up, organized, there was a theater room / stage type thing on deck 4, and that is where they did all the shows every single night, which was really, really cool. So we'll talk about the shows in more detail later, but there was that area. And then there was a main pool deck. There was one really large, nice size pool, and then there was 2 hot tubs there as well. I feel like they were generally pretty busy, and it wasn't always just a super party atmosphere, but it definitely had a party atmosphere. And so that was where people kind of hung out, usually during the daytime after they kind of got back from ports before dinner started. And then there was lots of people that also just sat around on these kind of deck chairs or beach type chairs, and they were actually really nice chairs. They were all padded and had covers over them. So we do feel like there was always places to sit. So maybe if you went up a floor around, there was kind of a walking track, there's always seats up there. Or maybe in the covered sections, there was seats. But I will say that there was, if you were trying to sit right by the pool, lots of time those seats were taken. We were looking through the Facebook group later, and we also noticed this, that there was a lot of people that would kind of leave their towels or something and then not sit in the seats all day, and so those seats would almost be taken, but people weren't always using them. So I know that that's something that, I don't really know how you could even officiate that, or however you want to say that, but that is something that we heard a lot of people talking about, that people would kind of leave their towels and then those chairs weren't really used, and so those good seats were taken. But there was always some place to sit, but it was a little bit hard to find one right by the pool if it was a busy time.
And there were 2 bars at the pool area as well that were always super busy, and you can get fun frozen drinks, those kinds of things there. I will say that, so Oceania in general is very, very luxurious. So we felt like all the amenities, such as the beach chairs, those kinds of things, were so much different than other cruise ships that we've been on. And as we're talking about all of these things, I know we haven't got to a part where we could really talk about how nice and luxurious and upscale the entire cruise was yet. If you watch our videos, you'll just be able to see exactly what we're talking about, but everything just felt so above and beyond from what we've experienced on other cruises, if that makes sense. Like, for example, the deck chairs were all completely padded, and so we just haven't seen, and all of them were like that. Every single deck chair or lounge chair at the pool and on the other decks were completely like that. So I don't know exactly how to explain it in the podcast here, but yeah, it's just, imagine everything that we're saying is just very, very nice and luxurious, and the best that we've personally seen on a lifestyle cruise.
Or any cruise for that matter. It's just the nicest cruise ship we've ever been on, by far. The only other little section right in that pool area was there was a little small dance floor that would get busy at times. Playmakers would do some games there. They did some little, like, classes. There's like a walking in heels class, and there was a scarf dancing, a pole dancing. So they had some fun little stuff there. So there was also a little area there. And then we're going to jump to another section that I feel like I actually really used a lot of, and that was the activity areas. So it's so nice because I'm so used to like seeing ships that if they have mini golf, it's like mini golf, but this ship had like putting greens, and yes, it was numbered 1 through 18, but it was more like putting greens with weighted putters, and then they had there's obviously not room for a driving range, but almost like one of those nets that you can hit balls into, and I literally went up there, I was up there for hours, multiple days, just having so much fun. There was a shuffleboard court, there was a bocce ball court, and so there was a lot of things like that I feel like I didn't actually see people up there very often, but there definitely was some outside type games / activities if you wanted to go do those things, as well as a super nice gym. There was a lot of cardio type equipment. They had all the weights you could need, and it was really pretty because like the bikes and stuff all overlooked the ocean. So as you're, riding a bike on a treadmill or whatever it is, you can overlook the ocean, which was just really fun. And they also had like free sport drinks. Since the alcohol package was included, they had a refrigerator that would have Gatorade Zero. They had all these different vitamin waters. And so you could just go and, get some sort of hydrating drink with your workout, which I also thought was just a cool touch I've never seen on a ship before.
There also was a spa that was super, super nice, and that had the different spa treatments that you could pay for additionally, which were different facials. There was a beauty room. You could get your nails done, your hair done. You could do facials, all of those spa treatments. And the ones that were included, though, there was a sauna room, a steam room, and those were super nice. We used it a couple times, and it definitely was very rejuvenating and refreshing. And these places, I feel like, are never busy. I don't know if it's because people don't know that it's included, but we think that it really should be used more. I mean, it's you can use it. Maybe people are just, I don't know if there's just not enough time though, but I think that it is always so nice and sometimes necessary just to go and relax and decompress and just go into the steam room. And so we really, really liked that. And just right outside of, there's also a quiet room. There were 2 quiet rooms, which I'm not exactly sure what it was used for, but the chairs almost looked like a lounge chair, but it was heated and nobody was ever in there. And so I laid in there for a little bit before I went into the spa or the sauna areas one of the days. And right outside of the spa area, there was a private deck area with almost a spa pool, I would say. And this was, depending on the room type that you got access to that. So not everybody was there. And they had even nicer lounge chairs because it was a canopy type where you could move the shade on top. And so that was really nice. And it was pretty much empty most of the days. So if you had access to that, that was pretty cool. There also was a casino, and I wouldn't say it was a big casino or anything like that, and it wasn't like super, super busy all the time, but that was available if you wanted to go play at the casino.
I feel like it got pretty busy in the evenings. I feel like when the martini bar was kind of going, I feel like it was generally pretty busy. So I definitely feel like people took advantage of the casino or used it. I don't know if you ever take advantage of a casino,
Yeah.
but use the
They
casino.
take advantage of you.
Yeah, but that was pretty cool.
There was also different shopping boutique areas, so you could get makeup, you could get, it's like a normal cruise ship where you could get like duty free shopping. I think you could buy alcohol, those kinds of things. So if you wanted to do duty free shopping, you could do that as well. When it comes to lounge chairs, things like that, if you didn't want to be in your room or you didn't want to be at the pool, we felt like there were so many places that you could sit and lounge. And if you wanted to like meet a couple and just talk to where it was more quiet, there was definitely a lot of areas to do that. And there was also a library, and this was such a cute library. It was the biggest library we've ever seen on a cruise ship because they had different genre areas, and there are actually people who went up there just to work a few of the days whenever we went up. I know people had their laptops, and just because you're on a vacation, sometimes the work has to keep going. And so there was like quiet places where you could work. There was a little computer section that you could access the internet, those kinds of things. And yeah, there were so many different places that you could go to. Whenever we tell people that we go to the library on these kinds of cruises, they kind of laugh at us. But I would recommend it. Like, I'm telling you, sometimes you just need to step away from the socialization and party aspect. And cruises like this, where you do have more of that chill kind of environment, if you want it to be, and it's not just party, party, party all the time, we think it's really nice to just take advantage of the library or the spa areas or like the walking track or using all of the different activities, because those are things people just aren't thinking about. So just make sure you guys go to those and at least look at them and see them and see if you want to use them.
Yeah, you might end up really liking it. Like I said, I went up there and I bet I golfed for at least 7 hours on this cruise.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like Bella would take a nap or Bella would go to the spa and I would just go hit balls or I would putt or do whatever. And it's fun because like Bella said, sometimes it's nice to step away from like the social atmosphere just because it is so much fun to talk to people. But if you're talking to people all day, every day, sometimes I feel like it can be like overwhelming. And so taking a few hours for yourself, I feel like can be very rejuvenating and really nice. But speaking of parties, I'm actually want to talk about like the dance club / disco. So I really enjoyed this disco dance area. And so it's up on like, I think the Horizons, which I think was the 14th floor at the front of the ship. And basically it was a huge room and there was a dance floor in the middle with a DJ. They had all of the different like lights going. It was set, it was really dark. And then you obviously could see, but then they had a ton of couches and chairs and tables all spread out through the back along with the bars that were over there. And so it was so nice because you could so easily go find a seat, you could sit, you could people watch, you could get up, you could go dance. It was never difficult. There was plenty of space, which sometimes you never know how it's going to go and the rooms can be too crowded, but I feel like this was a great size for the actual disco area. And I felt like it got really busy up there and I feel like people danced till pretty late. I mean, lots of time it was 12:30, 1. People were still up there dancing, having a great time. And so I thought the disco area was really, really nice overall.
Next is the playrooms. And so you did not have to be nude or be in lingerie or a robe to enter. There was just one playroom, and whenever we talked to the management of the cruise, they told us that they tried to find a place where they could have the biggest playroom possible. And so that was really nice that it did accommodate a lot of people. There were about 30 beds. And here's the thing with the playroom that we thought was just, I think they could just be better in the future. So the lighting was good. It was nice and, sensual. It smelled good. There were a lot of towels that were just easily accessible that you could get. And they had protection outside of the room. There was water right outside of the playroom as well.
The temperature was also always feel like it was comfortable.
The thing is, all the beds were just placed, the mattresses, they were just placed on the floor, and they did have sheets on top of it, and they would change out the sheets, and then you had the towels that you could use. But especially for a cruise of this caliber, of this luxuriousness, of this upscaleness, we just thought that the playroom would have been different. If the beds were maybe put on risers, or and there weren't any curtains around the beds. There were some tapestry, I guess you could call it, curtain type things that were draped, and they were white and sheer, and so that kind of added to the sensuality of the room, but there wasn't any curtains that would make your specific bed that you chose more sheer, if that makes sense. And so you could walk around it easily though, but just think because everything was just like facing down and you just had to like get down on the ground, it wasn't like our favorite playroom.
Yeah, so I know there's like logistic things that like make playrooms extremely difficult, but that was like one of the only things that I felt like to us on the cruise we didn't like love. But yes, it was still like a nice playroom. It was still, I think they did a great job to make it as big as they possibly could to accommodate as many people as they could. But I agree with Belle, that is one of the things that I feel like could have been even cooler. But I said it was still definitely a nice playroom overall.
And it did open at 9:30, which is a pretty early time. So it was open a lot of hours. It was 9:30, and then it got busy around midnight or so, and then it kept going on. And then they did have specific times when it was open during the day. And yeah, so the playroom was okay. I think it was one of the things that just in the future could be worked on. I don't know if it's just because we were expecting other things, like maybe that's on our part where we're expecting something, it's always better to go in with no expectations whenever it's not talking about boundaries and stuff like that.
I definitely think that it's nice, but I think it could be even nicer. And I just think it's I think the thing is, because everything was so upscale and everything was so 10 out of 10, I feel like I think it made the playroom just feel not quite as nice, where if the other accommodations weren't so amazing, I think it would have felt very on scale and felt like a very nice playroom. But just because everything was so upscale, I feel like that's why it maybe probably felt that way even more. Maybe it accentuated that feeling that we're feeling. But like I said, it was still a very nice playroom. I know it was always busy. People thoroughly enjoyed it. So yeah, so while we liked it, I do think it's an area that could be improved.
And I think that it's an easy thing to improve in the future. So hopefully they'll take those things into consideration moving forward into other cruises. And I don't know how the playrooms were like previously. I don't know if they're always like that.
So this is their first cruise like that was on an Oceania ship. And so I think it's always been on Azamara in the past. And so I know there's always like changes when it comes to those things. And so I do think it's one of those things that definitely can be, made even cooler in the future. But I said it was their first time on this. And so, I think that all makes sense to me.
Moving on into the theme nights, they did have a different theme every single night. And there was one themed pool party during the day where it was kind of a sea day. There wasn't really technically any sea days on this cruise, which we'll talk more about when we go into the port and itinerary. But one of the days we had 2 days in Istanbul, Turkey, and so that second day kind of acted as a sea day. And that pool theme was a pineapple theme, so that was really fun and cute. Lots of different pineapple outfits and decor. And then the nighttime party themes were nautical, so it was a sailor-ish nautical vibe, and I would say a majority of people dressed up as a sailor, and then we were pirates for that night, which I think is really cute. We actually met a couple who we ended up really enjoying talking to, and then she came up to us, she was like, oh my gosh, we are so excited that you guys aren't pirates. And so whenever it comes to themes and things, if you kind of think a little bit outside of the box, sometimes you're able to make like a little bit more connections, and that if that's what you're wanting to do. But anyways, okay, so nautical, there was a small dress to impress, which was the formal theme. Greek paradise, mischievous fantasy, which a lot of people did, a lot of Disney type outfits, and a fluorescent glow theme, and then 80s extravaganza, and then lingerie masquerade. And we'd say a majority of people did dress up on theme, probably about 75 to 80%. But the thing is, people didn't really go all out, we'd say. There weren't a lot of costumes or ravey type outfits, which is like kind of what more we do. I kind of do like more ravey outfits sometimes, and I don't think that a majority of people, like women, like dressed more like that. This cruise definitely see like going on with like the upscale and luxuriousness. The outfits seemed to reflect that as well. It just seemed more not toned down, I'd say. I guess like toned down, but in a sexy way.
Yeah, I feel like
was
it's like a
still on theme.
classier, sexier
Yeah.
versions of costumes. I feel like people did dress up, and I loved people's costumes. I loved to people watch on this cruise. I feel like so many couples also went together. Like you could see that they bought outfits to go together as a couple, which I thought was really, really fun. But yeah, it just felt like a sexier, classier, upscaled version of costumes, which I really
wouldn't
enjoyed.
call them costumes though. That's what I'm saying. Like
Outfits.
it's just theme outfits where it's not a costume.
I thoroughly enjoyed these themes. I like a nautical theme on a boat. I think that's fun. I also love that they did a Greek theme when we're in Greece, and it was on one of the Greek days. That's like the last night was the Greek theme, and we were in Greece that day. And so it was fun. Like we saw people who like bought stuff in Greece to wear as part of their Greece costume. So I thought the themes were fun, especially for like where we were in the world. So next we are going to jump into food, and I have to say the food was amazing. Before we get into details, by far the best cruise ship food I have ever had. I feel like it was just amazing food, period. Not even like you were on a cruise ship, like just upscale food, period. I had a lot of the best versions of stuff I've ever had were on this cruise. So that's my first thing. I absolutely loved the food on this cruise.
I agree. It was I don't think I really ate anything that I didn't like. And I will say we are foodies, but we're not super, super picky on everything. So I mean, we thought it was really good. And we've also been on like a lot of other trips too. So I would say that we have a pretty good idea of what good food tastes like.
I think so. And I feel like even the stuff that maybe I didn't love, I felt like it was more because like maybe it just wasn't for me, but I think it was a good version of that. Where I've been on other trips before where I've had food that I'm like, this just isn't good. Like it's just, I don't think that anyone would think this is good. Whereas on this ship, I felt like even the things I didn't love, somebody would still definitely like that. It just wasn't for me. But mostly everything I ate, I thoroughly enjoyed.
This was the first lifestyle trip that I've been on where I ate a lot. Like I ate a lot of food this time. I ate it in the way that if I were to go on a vanilla ship, I would eat like a lot of food. Usually whenever I go on lifestyle trips, I don't eat much. And I don't know if the food just doesn't usually taste very good or what it is. Like it tastes like good, like it tastes fine, but I typically stick to French fries or get some pizza or something like that. And then here, I would say I definitely gained weight on this cruise.
It was so fun. Let's talk about the buffets first. So there was a buffet that would be at breakfast, lunch, and then dinner. And I feel like every single day they'd have a lot of the staples. So, you'd have your fruits, you'd have yogurt. I'm talking about breakfast first. You'd have fruits, yogurt, you'd have, vegetables, eggs, sausages, all the normal types of stuff. And then
Continental breakfast.
Yes.
But it wasn't just continental breakfast. Oh, you're just saying that it had continental breakfast.
Yes, it had all of those things to start off with. And then they also had like a little section that you could get omelets or things like made to order as well, like at the front, like chefs were cooking it right there. And then there was other sections that I feel like they kind of changed out every single day, so they would have different just fun things, like different breakfast foods. And so I feel like that changed every single day.
For example, they did different pancakes one day, or you can get waffles, those kinds of things. Those stations changed out every now and then.
Yeah, and they did the same thing at lunch and dinner, where I feel like they would have all of your staples that you would just want, different vegetables, fruits, meats, stuff like that. But then they would change out what they did every single day. And for the dinner specifically, it reflected with whatever the actual theme of the main dining room was. And so, maybe it was more of an Asian theme. They'd have more Asian type food at dinner. Or there was a Greek night twice where they brought in like some local Greek type stuff, cooked Greek food. And that was fun because we were in Greece those days. And so they did stuff like that every single night. And they just had a lot of very interesting, upscale, fun foods. Like, we had swordfish, we had octopus, there was foie gras, there was a lot of things that you just don't see typically on a cruise ship. They had. And I feel like, I said, once again, everything was just so good.
They had a section at the buffet area where you could order lobster tail or other things like that you typically don't get every single night on a cruise ship. Like, it was unlimited. So that was really fun.
And the sushi.
Oh, they get sushi.
If you are a sushi person, it actually tasted like sushi. And what I mean by this is sometimes I've had sushi at places and I feel like it just tastes like fish and rice, and then sushi tastes like actual sushi. And if you really love sushi, you'll know what I mean by that. But it tasted like if I were to go to a restaurant, pay for sushi, I would have been happy with the sushi, which I've never said that one time at any sort of buffet sushi ever. This is the first time I've ever said that. They had like nigiri, they had different rolls, and that was my highlight. We would go and get sushi before dinner if we were going to the formal dinner because it was so good.
The last 2 nights, it was the Greek night, and we were actually so sad because there wasn't any sushi. Oh, and there was ice cream at the buffet areas too, and it was good ice cream.
Yeah.
We are now lovers of Humphrey Slocombe, which we thought was a type of ice cream, like
Baskin Robbins or something?
No. We thought that it was like a flavor of ice cream.
Yes.
Humphrey Slocombe was a flavor of ice cream, but it actually is like a brand of ice cream. I don't know if it's like a fancy brand or something, but it was really good. I changed it out like every day.
Yeah, and they had all sorts of interesting ones. That was like there was one that was vanilla with potato chips and chocolate, and all these things that like sound so outlandish, but all tasted so good. Like we looked forward to getting whatever that ice cream was every single day. And then I'm going to talk about like the main dining room now. So they had a breakfast one that I think was from 9 to noon every single day, and it was never busy. Me and Bella went in there and ate, I believe, 3 times, and there was hardly ever anybody there, maybe like 15 people. And it was so good. They had so many different options. So you had all your different kinds of eggs, you had all your different kinds of meats. You could get, your little salad type vegetable things. I mean, literally everything. And they went so above and beyond. Like one day I was like, oh, there was no jalapenos on the menu, and I wanted a jalapeno with my omelet. And they're like, sure, we can do that. Like, it was so nice. It was so pretty. It was so opulent, the actual dining room itself, and just so good. And then at dinner, they would have different themes, and you could go where you could order all of your things individually, or like on the left side of the menu, they had a thing that was talking about like a pairing. Yeah, so like a pairing of, we suggest this with this, with this, with this, and that would be like a good taste of all of your foods moving together in a good way. And they had sommeliers that would come, and they would, with whatever you ordered, they would help you pair a wine, and they had different wines from all over. I mean, it literally was just so nice. I know I keep saying that, but like I was just so thoroughly impressed by that.
If you guys want to see the food, like visually see it, go watch our vlogs. I feel like a lot of our vlogs is eating. Like we're doing things, like obviously we can't show people and stuff, but we do show all of our food because that's like one thing that we know we can show. But anyway, so yeah, you can see that if you want to see what the food actually look like, what the dining rooms look like. And then there was also sit down restaurants that we didn't even know, because usually at the restaurants, they're like specialty restaurants, so they cost extra, but this was all included. And so there were a few different sit down restaurants, and you had to make reservations in advance, which again we didn't know until like closer to the end of the cruise, like the last couple days. And so a majority of those reservations were already taken, and that was another thing that we, as well as like some other guests, were just a little bit disappointed in, just how quickly the reservations filled up. Not saying that the other food options were bad though, because like we loved the main dining room and even just going to the buffet area.
But that's kind of also on us for night 6, trying to get reservations for night 6 and 7. I bet if you went day 1, you could have found a reservation throughout the week. Now, I don't know if you could have had one every single day, but it also goes to show how good those restaurants were. And we did get to go to two out of the 3 of them.
That's true. Because one of them, we didn't make the reservation. That was something that we were like invited to. And so we didn't even know. But
also, to me, with these restaurants, I feel like a lot of the time on cruises, I feel like to me, the dining that's not just the main dining room really isn't necessarily better or even that great. These restaurants were all extremely good. I feel like all the food was on the same tier, which I actually don't feel like the main dining room was worse food than it was at these sit-down formal type restaurants. But it was equally as good everywhere. So we went to a place called Toscana, which was an Italian restaurant. They brought out different sort of olive oils and balsamic vinegars, and so you got to choose what kind. There was like 15 olive oils to choose from for your
like
bread.
infused.
And then they paired the balsamic based off of what olive oil you got. It was crazy. The food was good. Bella got gnocchi that she said was some of the best gnocchi she's actually ever had.
I don't think I've ever had real gnocchi before, because I didn't taste like any gnocchi I've ever had, because it actually tasted really good.
Yeah, and then we went to Polo Grill, which was a steak restaurant, and I asked for a steak. I wanted it medium rare, and it was actually medium rare. That doesn't happen on boats. Like the truffle mac and cheese, they had they had lobster mac and cheese, truffle mashed potatoes. Everything was so good. The one place we didn't get to go to was a restaurant called Red Ginger, which was an Asian-inspired restaurant, which we heard was incredible. We did not get to go to that one, but I wish we would have. There just was no reservations. But I said, I think that's our fault for on night 6 trying to get a reservation for that night. So
That's true. Yeah, but it was to get it for like the next night. I think it's just if there's options to do reservations and you want to go eat at the restaurant, just make sure you guys do that at the beginning of the cruise. I think you could even do it online.
Yeah.
On your
so that's our fault. There also was another restaurant called Waves, and that was it was open in between the time of when the buffets were open or when the dining rooms were open. It was outside kind of by the pool, but it was all covered, and there they had a bunch of different stuff like burgers you could have to order. You could get French fries.
You had like the best burger ever.
It was actually so good. I got a Wagyu burger with a lobster on it, which is a surf and turf burger, and actually was maybe some of the most tender hamburger meat I've ever had. Last time I when I order Wagyu, also on cruises, it doesn't taste like it. I thought this was really good. It like kind of melted in your mouth. And for just ordering at a 4 p.m. any day of the week, I was so impressed with.
For a gourmet burger, that was definitely one of the best gourmet burgers we've ever had.
I agree. And they also
might be the best. I don't think we've ever really had a better gourmet burger.
It was really good. They also had French fries there. They had sweet potato fries. They had a bunch of little finger food type sandwiches. They had some chips. They had things like that you could go. And then they also had this one little section where every day they made something different. So like one day they had baked potatoes there. One day they had pulled pork sandwiches. They just had different stuff. I think there was a nachos one day. So because of that Waves being open, there pretty much at all times was something to eat. And then at nighttime, Waves...
Well, before that though, I will say I do wish that the lunch buffet maybe would have been open a little bit later into the main dining, because although Waves was good, it was like the only thing available during like a specific amount of time before dinner. And I think right after you're getting back from the port, I think people would prefer to go to the buffet area, but it was already closed by the time that people got back, which would be about 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think it closed at 2:30 if I remember correctly. And like Bella said, if you're going and doing so much stuff with an excursion or whatever, a lot of time you get back at 3 or 4, and so it'd already be closed. So Waves was the only option, but Waves was a good option.
Yeah, I thought it was a good option too, but I think it's just because that was more, it was like lunch food, and it was just like sandwiches, burgers, those kinds of things. I wouldn't say like poolside food, but I think that I would have wished that it, like, there's not that many things that we would have changed about the cruise, so we want to make sure that you guys know that there are things that
but that's just an Oceania thing, right? Like that's just, I don't think you're allowed to move. I think Oceania is open when it's open, and that's like the only choices. But I do wish if it would have been open to like 3:30, the buffet, I think it would have been nice to have the option of Waves and the buffet. But Waves also at night turned into a late night food,
which is something that Oceania does not usually do. Like,
so
that was
nice
specific to the charter, but yeah.
And they would have, once again, you could order burgers, fries, sandwiches, and they just had like all these sandwiches you could just pick up and go. It was so easy. They had pizza, so they had pizza ready, or you could order your own full pizza. And once again, it was just amazing food. So I know this has been a huge section on food, but literally it was so good, and we love food, and it was just so top tier.
It's important. Everybody eats and sleeps and fucks. Which is, you could do all of those things on this cruise.
This podcast is brought to you by us, Bella and Jase. If you're going on a vacation, or maybe you have a gift that you want to give your other lifestyle friends and you're looking for lifestyle clothing, we have the best apparel on the market for you. We have not only clothing, bikinis, swimsuits, we have backpacks, tumblers, cups, anything that you can name, we probably have it. You can find that at foreplay.com/shop.
Let's say you're at a party, you're going on vacation, things are moving a little bit slow. Maybe you want some conversation to flow. Maybe you want to move stuff towards play. Well, we have the perfect game for you. It's called Foreplay the Game. It is a digital and physical lifestyle icebreaker game, and you can find out all about it at foreplay.com/games. That's number 4, OURPLAY.com/games.
If you don't have a lifestyle vacation planned, a resort or a cruise planned, why not? You can join us. You can find that at foreplay.com/playcation. We have not only information about the events and trips that we'll be on this year, but also other options for you as well. And it doesn't cost any extra for you to book through our links, but helps us a lot, helps us continue to be able to make this type of content for you. And lastly, we do offer coaching now. And so we do 2-on-2 relationship coaching for the lifestyle. This can be for if you're completely new in the lifestyle, not sure exactly where to start, but wanting somebody to walk you through it. Or maybe you've been in the lifestyle for a while, hitting a lull, or you just need some advice. We are there to help. And you can find that at foreplay.com/coaching. Now back to the show.
All right, next we're going to talk about accommodations, and again, upscale. So luxurious. This was so next level compared to any other cruise ship that we've been on. And it was big. So the bathroom specifically, I think, was maybe 2 or 3 times the size of a typical cruise ship bathroom. And it was all that marbly type of pattern. The shower was huge. You could fit like 5 people in that shower. On a cruise ship, like, are you joking? That is crazy. Like, you never see that.
And that's just for like the standard room.
And it was a waterfall.
Rooms are even like bigger,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I
yeah.
mean, I'm sure if you bought a penthouse on a normal cruise, yes, you could get a shower that big. But as far as like a standard room goes, that's what was there. There was like a dresser in there with like a medicine cabinet. There was so much space for like storing things.
One of our friends who were in the same category, but they had a different room, she had a bathtub and a shower. So instead of the section where you could store stuff, she had a bathtub there, or like vice versa. But she had like both, which is so nice.
Yeah.
And then the room itself, oh my God. The bed was the most comfortable bed we've ever been on. And guys, this is on a cruise ship, okay? So it felt like a cloud, and it was just so puffy, all of the pillows and the blankets, and there was so much room to like walk around.
There was rooms to store everything. There was a closet with like a light that automatically turned on when you opened it. There was drawers. There was a huge couch. There was a wonderful TV. There was beautiful mirrors. All the mirrors were lit excellent. So if you need to do your makeup, you need to get ready, it was so easy. We had a room that was like a floor to ceiling window, so like an ocean view room essentially. And so you just open that window and just look out at the ocean, and it was always just a beautiful view because we were sailing through Greece and Turkey, which is just beautiful land, right? Like, so there's always mountains and stuff. And so the room was just literally so nice. We started to hang up some of our pineapple decorations in our room, and we literally like, this is not the vibe. This does not look nice enough for how nice this ship is. And so, I also do want to say, this is kind of a tangent from this, but as far as decorating doors go, people do decorate doors. It's not like, I wouldn't say a majority of people decorate doors, but if you are going on a Desire cruise and you want to decorate your door, there definitely is people that do, but I would say it's maybe 10%.
Yeah, there were, I think we saw maybe 2 or 3.
No,
but we didn't walk
you didn't
everywhere.
walk. I walked around a
Okay.
lot more than you, and I think it was 10% of the rooms had something. Maybe not a full door of decoration, but I think maybe like 10% had like some decorations. But I will say we had like a whiteboard and stuff, and I think because there was less doors that were decorated, more people stopped at our doors. We had more stickers that we gave away. There was more notes left on our doors. So I do think that more people went to our door because there was less people. But if you're going on a Desire cruise and you want to decorate your door, you will not be out of place at all. But you're not going to see as many doors decorated as some other cruises.
I think you'll stand out, which is, I think, always a good thing. So Desire cruises in general will always be at more of that luxurious, opulent, upscale tier. So although it's not always going to be on the Oceania Riviera, they do choose ships that have the same type of luxuriousness. So say with like Azamara or like other Oceania cruise ships, they don't do cruise ships, not saying that the other cruise ships are bad, but I'm just saying Oceania and Azamara are a different tier of cruise ship versus like a Royal Caribbean or a Celebrity. So this is our experience of the accommodations and amenities on this specific ship, but it's not always going to be these exact things, but just know that it will be on the same type of tier, and it's what the guests like do expect. And so Desire is just like that step above. So keep that in mind. It's kind of like the resorts, right? So like Desire Resort, like, so like Pearl, like we'd say this is like the Desire Pearl, but now with like RM,
It's
with
nice.
it being
It's
new,
the nicest.
yeah, definitely. Like I guess we'll talk more about this at the conclusion, but so we just wanted to make sure you guys knew that it's not always going to be these exact amenities, but for the specific ship, this is our experience, but in the future it will be like just as nice on that scale. Okay, moving on.
So next, let's talk about activities. So we'll talk about the playmakers first. They do have playmakers on these ships. It's the same playmakers that either worked at Desire RM at one point or still work at Desire RM, or maybe Pearl, but worked at one of the Desire resorts. And they are all wonderful. They did a lot of little games every single day. So some of the games they did, they had like different drinking games that you could participate in. I saw one where people were like laying on the floor with some whipped cream at one point. I know that there was name necklaces that you could make. They did a scavenger hunt where basically you were on a team and you went and looked for like sexy items like a red thong and a cowboy hat and all
Sexy
these
items like a cowboy hat.
well, you know, I mean, different. Some things weren't
Vibrator.
sexy, some were sexy. There was
Which
vibrators.
I did win that one, by the way.
Yeah, I lost. A condom, stuff like that, right? So they had fun games like that. And they also had ones where like it was like meet and greet type games. Now, I will say that it wasn't always extremely busy at these games, and I think it's because a lot of times people like maybe weren't back on the ship yet, or they were tired from their whole excursion, so they didn't go. But the playmakers literally made the best of it every time, even if it was a small group. Like it still ended up always being fun because they always made it fun.
And I don't know how they had that much energy. So not only were they hosting the games and the meetups, they were also dancing. Every time that they're at the beginning of the night, they were dancing on the dance floor. They were dancing, walking around, talking to people at the pool. I don't know when they ever rested because I just feel like they were always around and they were always so high energy and they were so nice. And they are so beautiful. They are so pretty to look at. And they're so nice too. Like,
They'll remember your name. Like they're
they'll
so
say hi to you.
charismatic. Every
Yes.
single one of them is just wonderful. And so yeah, it was really nice that they hosted all those different games. And then they're also, so if you guys remember Uni from Desire RM, I know so many people absolutely loved her. She still does a lot of the cruises, and she did a couple different classes one day. I know she had like a pole dancing class. She had this one that was like a scarf dancing type
It's
thing.
like belly dancing?
Like almost like
Yeah.
belly dancing, but you use scarves. There was a guy who taught how to walk in heels. You said you watched that class, and it was like awesome.
Yeah, it was like strutting. It was awesome.
There also was a class that was, I thought it was so cool because we've always had like, I wish there was more activities that were quiet where you could kind of talk to people but were still sexy. And they did it. It was Uni again, and they also had one with I believe one of the male playmakers later, but it was an art class, and you went in and it was like drawing from life, like a nude model, and they weren't nude, but like she was in pasties and a thong and had some heels on. And then you had the guy who was the resident artist on the ship. His name was Graham Dennison, and he actually is a phenomenal artist. He did some stuff for Disney. He has a lot of his work all over the ship, and it was so cool. But he would go through, and they didn't necessarily teach you how to do the art, but they gave you some different kind of stuff, kind of guided you a little bit. But basically, it was just like a drawing from life, but a sexy drawing.
And you could order drinks. So they had a staff member come in and take your drink order, so you could drink wine. And they had hors d'oeuvres. Oh my gosh, it was so classy. Everything about this was classy.
And it was so fun. Like that was such a cool class to be able to do. And so that was one of my favorite little activities we did because it was so different but so fun.
There were also professional cooking classes. That was something that you did pay extra for, but we did pass by and see, so you could learn how to cook and make different dishes. That's something that I actually do want to do sometime in the future, is just like get like the basics of like knife skills, those kinds of things down. And then they had the golfing and those kinds of things that we talked about earlier. Oh, there was also a tennis court, or not tennis court. What's the one?
Oh, pickleball.
Yeah, pickleball. So there weren't any meetups per se, where it was, this like full swap meetup or soft swap meetup or first timers meetup. They didn't have those kinds of things, but they did have a first Desire cruise meetup that we went to, but like Jase was saying earlier, it just wasn't always super busy, so it makes sense that they wouldn't do those like hosted meetups all the time. But then the playmakers did. I feel like the meetups were kind of what the playmaker parties or the playmaker activities were. And then they had a ton of live music. There was live bands at the martini bar. Sometimes there was live music out at the pool area. Lots of people socialized there. And then moving on into the parties, these were always super, super fun. Again, it usually started off like it kicked off right after the show. People went to the martini bar where there was the live music. And then from there, we all went up to, you kind of scattered. So wherever you go, it's like you start off the martini bar, you can go to the casino, you can go to other bars and other places. And then usually people ended up at the disco area, which was the nightclub. Everybody here calls it the disco. People all went up there, and I thought that the music was really good. I think that there was a lot of different variety. One night, I even heard a Kid Laroi song. I've never heard a Kid Laroi song. It was Stay by him and Justin Bieber on a lifestyle cruise before. So that was pretty fun. And a lot of people were dancing, and it went pretty late, and then people would go to the playrooms or disperse and kind of go wherever and go get late night food. Late night food was always usually busy as well. And then there were like a ton of different classes, and all of these were included, and they were pretty much all hands-on. Dr. Jess did some classes. There was an instructor named Amber, and then there was so we didn't attend any of the classes, and they filled up really, really quick. So that is one thing. Most of them were also held in the playroom area, being as it was very hands-on. There was like a sensual massaging class. There were different oral classes and different connection classes. And so it was really nice that they were hands-on and they were all included. Usually on lifestyle trips like these, those types of classes come with like an extra fee. But the one thing with this is it just filled up really quick. So if you wanted to attend it, you had to get there pretty early. We met all of the instructors though, and oh my gosh, everybody was so, so, so nice.
And everything we heard from everyone who went to the classes, all thoroughly enjoyed them. And me and Bella talked also personally because we like classes, but we're not as big as hands-on people. But I feel like
at least hands-on in an environment where everybody is there.
Yeah.
Because like you guys know, we're also not like playroom people.
Yeah. So yeah, we like more of the just like talking classes whenever we're in places like this. But I do feel like for this cruise, I feel like more people enjoy those hands-on classes. So I think that doing all hands-on classes actually made sense with this cruise. And like Bella said, it's nice that they're included because usually hands-on classes that are that small and intimate are not included. They're normally extra fees. And so I said, I've heard the classes were wonderful, and I know all the instructors are wonderful, so it all adds up to me.
And I do think it's really smart that they cut it off at a certain amount of people, especially with it being hands-on, because if there was way too many people, like it just wouldn't be as intimate. Like the instructors wouldn't be able to give as much attention, if that makes sense. So I definitely understand the size of it, and I think that it makes sense. Maybe in the future if they're able to have like a bigger room, but I don't know, like 30 couples, that's a lot of people already.
That's a big class. So yeah. It makes sense. And they did like multiple classes in a day. So I think they did it really like the best job that it actually is possible. I wouldn't want to be in a hands-on class with 80 couples. Like that is, yeah, I think too big of a class for something like that. And then the only thing that I do wish there would have been is I wish there would have been maybe a couple, like maybe even one a day, like a little meet and greet for like a cocktail hour. That's one thing I would like to see, but I said overall I thought they had like a really good amount of activities. I also don't even know when they would have done that because I feel like it would have had to been around dinner time because people were off the ship during the day. So, I don't know. Activities overall I thought were really, really nice.
Moving on into the shows, we personally really enjoyed the shows, and we thought they were sexy and they were playful and they were fun. The show was put on by a cabaret group dance troupe, and it was called Carrie Gold and her cabaret group. And I believe they were on the previous Desire cruise as well. We thought it was really nice because they had a different show for every theme. So whatever theme it was that night, the show reflected that, which was very similar to the Desire resorts. Usually whatever theme that night is what the show is. Again, we really liked the shows. I do think that maybe we were expecting it to be more similar or more on par with what the entertainment is like at the Desire resorts. I think just because of like the price point of the cruise itself, there were some guests who thought the entertainment would have been a little bit different. However, we really liked the show. We thought it was playful. Like, it was a burlesque show where there was dancing, there was pole dancing, there were like almost a Magic Mike type performances at some of the points. And the stage itself, though, like, was pretty small. So I mean, I don't think that they could have done more opulent things that we were expecting.
I totally agree with Bella. I genuinely loved the shows. I know other people did too, because like at the end on the last show, they're like, oh, there's no show on night 7, and everyone like booed, obviously joking, but like I know people wanted to go see the shows. It was always busy. But the one thing that we feel like is we haven't been talking about other cruises on here, but I am for a second going to draw a comparison to Temptation Cruise. If you've heard us talk about Temptation Cruise in the past, they do a show called Erotic, which I feel like is so high caliber. And I feel like the show on Desire was very great. I think that everyone is extremely talented. I feel like it felt a little bit more fun, sexy, party type vibe, the show on Desire, where I feel like that vibe of that show maybe fits on Temptation a little bit better, where Temptation is a little bit more party, more fun, more like that in a sense, where Erotic seems a little bit more polished, a little bit upscale in a way. So I feel like if they almost were able to switch, they would match the vibe of those cruises better. Just because I feel like Desire does feel so upscale that this felt like a little like, it's not too sexy, but it just felt, does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, there was more, it's kind of more like a striptease, but in a more sexy way, which was the show on Desire. And then Erotic is more striptease in like a sensual way with like acrobatics and things. But again, they couldn't do that. Like on this stage, it was they didn't have the type of equipment to be able to do a show like Erotic, because we met all of the dancers and we became friends with the performers on this ship. And so one of the performances, he typically does it on a silicone pole, which like hangs from the air, which is like more of an acrobatic thing. And he couldn't do that because they didn't have the option for that, whereas like that's what Erotic does. And so I mean, I think that it makes sense in that way.
The other thing I really liked about this is they were entertaining every single night, and while the show felt similar, it felt different. And so to have one group that could do 6 different shows and make all of them entertaining and all of them feel different, to me was extremely impressive. So I thoroughly enjoyed the shows. And they also had a singer, and she would kind of like change the lyrics to make them like funny and also sexy. So like, I mean, I
like parodied it.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the shows. But the other thing we're talking about is like some things that we heard other people talk about in general, and I understand where they're coming from. But for our personal liking, we thoroughly enjoyed the shows.
I think maybe if they had this troupe and then in addition maybe had one other show that was more, I guess what you said earlier, like more polished in that aspect, I think that would have been a really good, just like overall, like wrapped everything up together. But we completely enjoyed the show. I thought it was so fun. Yeah. And I looked forward to it every single night. We don't usually go to the shows on lifestyle vacations.
And I literally wanted to go every day. I was like, I could not wait to go. And they also did have drinks there, so you could order drinks and have a drink while you watch the show, which was nice.
And the shows were maybe about 45 minutes or so it wasn't too short or too long.
Honestly, 40 to 45 minutes is the perfect length for a show on a ship like this, I think. So I said we loved it. Music-wise, there's really not like a ton to say. I thought that the music felt like a good mix. I felt like there was different genres. Unlike the 80s night, I felt like they had more 80s music. I felt like they tried to reflect that. And so to me, it felt like a good mix of music. So there was some classic stuff or older type music. There was some newer music. There was just a good combination.
I personally liked that there wasn't a ton of EDM. It was more like actual club music, I would say. Not even top 40, but just like a mix of, in a way where you could actually dance and sensually dance to. And it wasn't just like music that you like jump and dance to. So I personally really enjoyed that.
Same.
And like I said earlier, they had a little bit of like new music, like Kid Laroi, like Hello, and mixed in with other music. There was one point where I was like almost like karaoke singing with a girl we met on the dance floor.
Yeah, it was really good
really,
music.
really fun.
Next, we're going to jump into ports, which I feel like this is actually normally whenever we talk about ports with cruise reviews, we just say, oh, normal ports, you do normal things. We're going to talk about them here because I actually do think it makes a difference. I think that this is also a very separating factor of what puts Desire at a different tier to me is being able to go to so many incredible places. And so it poured out of Athens, Greece, or Pyrrhus, which is right outside of Athens. And then the cruise ports were Bozkadar, Turkey, Kusadasi, Turkey, Istanbul, which we stayed overnight, Mykonos, Greece, Santorini, Greece, and then back to Athens. I also want to say there was a couple places where you had to have like these forms to get in and out of Turkey, and they did all that for you. It was given to you, and they're like, hey, keep this form. You showed it whenever you got back on the ship. So you didn't need a visa, but you did need some sort of paperwork, and you didn't have to take care of any of it. It was all taken care of by, Oceania, Desire, whoever does all of that stuff, and then you were just able to get off the boat, come back on, you had what you needed, and so I really did appreciate that. But the cruise ports were so beautiful, so cool, such a fun grouping of different places. I thought that being able to stay in Istanbul overnight, so if you wanted to go out and party at night in Istanbul, you could. We didn't,
Istanbul,
but people did.
Yeah, and Istanbul was so cool because we were right in the middle, and so we were separating the two different continents.
Yeah, if
so
you
like
guys
one
didn't
side
know,
was Asia, one side was Europe.
Yeah, if you didn't know, Istanbul is the meeting point of where Asia starts and Europe ends, or vice versa, in the Bosphorus Strait, and we were parked in the middle of those. So like you were eating and we were sitting in the middle of two continents for like
so
2 days,
cool.
which I think is so cool.
So because it started out in Athens, a lot of people got there a few days before so they could experience Athens, and then were able to go on the ship and then go to the other ports. We would say, okay, what I was nervous about was it being a lifestyle, like more open vacation like this, with a lot of, meeting people and partying. I didn't know if we would be too tired to go and see these beautiful ports.
Or too tired to socialize because we went and saw the ports.
Yeah, so vice versa, those two things. I was a bit nervous because usually I'm very tired from the night before to just go off into the Caribbean, like go off and go to the beach. And so that actually wasn't the case at all. I don't know how, but somehow we were able to do all the socializing, lifestyle, that kind of stuff on the ship, and then also be able to wake up, go get food, be rejuvenated enough to go and spend the day if you wanted, or a few hours off of the ship to explore a beautiful port city, and then go back on the ship, eat, and then do it all over again. And
we even had time to nap and stuff.
I know. I don't know how.
I also do think it made a difference. We did go in late September. It's a beautiful time of year in Europe. And so a lot of time you could get off the boat and, the weather was nice. Even at noon, the weather was nice. And so you didn't have to get up at 8 a.m. to get off the boat if you didn't want to. You could get off at 9 or 10 or 11 and still go out and enjoy your time. And so I do feel like that also played a part. But I know looking at the future itineraries, everywhere is cool. Like they always do such cool, either Mediterranean. I know they did one through South America at one point that they went to like Rio and stuff. They're doing ones in Asia. And so they really do try to do an abundance of different ports that no matter where you are from the world, you'll be able to go. There's a West Indies one, which is more Caribbean, but like different stops that you don't normally go to, like on a other cruise that's just ports out of Miami. So there's a lot of really cool ports with every single Desire cruise.
It really feels like a sensual vacation that's also a vacation where you can travel and see cool places and experience culture and all of those things. So it's the perfect mix of both, and we were really worried that it would be either one or the other, but we were able to do all of it, and everybody else is too.
I totally
and so
agree.
that's just something that I think was so differentiating between this cruise and other like lifestyle type cruises, that you get both, and it's so neat. Okay, so anyways, like
Yeah.
keep
So if you
going
were
into
worried about that, like we were, don't be. You have the time to do. And I also was like, we don't even have like a sea day. Because someone's been like, I almost want a sea day, right? Like, and yes, there was Istanbul, but like once it was actually there, like I was excited to go off and get to go new places every single day. So I really did think that that was really, really cool. As far as excursions go, they had all of the excursions that you could book with Oceania. So, whether that is some sort of tour or going some place, whatever it is. I mean, they just have a ton of different types of excursions. We met a lot of people who had booked third-party excursions. So through, different websites or different things where they met a tour guide or they met whatever it was. And so they had a ton of different options. But what's so neat about all of these cities is that if you didn't want to go do an excursion, you can walk the city. And there is so much to see, so much to do, so much to eat, that we never even did an excursion, and we were out there for hours every single day enjoying every single minute of it. So you really have the option of doing a guided type tour or doing your own thing or doing half the time you do one and half the time, like whatever you wanted, you could make work. And I think that's really cool.
There was also plenty of time at all of the different stops. It was really cool that we were overnight in Istanbul because that's a pretty busy city. And so if you wanted to split the thing, like if you want to shop one day and then go and explore the next day, like, it was definitely cool. And I do think that there was enough time, like enough hours, that you could go and explore and then be able to come back.
So the last kind of section we're going to talk about before the conclusion is the miscellaneous stuff. So this is the stuff that we think really is important, but we didn't know where else to put it. So the first one is it is fully nude on the decks and the playrooms, and we do feel like a lot of people partook in being completely nude. Basically, when you're walking around outside by the pool, sitting in all of the lounge type chairs like that, once you're actually in the playrooms, you were allowed to be nude. And I said that is like a nice thing on these cruises. It's not just topless, it's fully nude. So if you want to partake in that, you are more than welcome to.
And this vacation does have a higher price point, but that is reflective to the upscale nature of the cruise ship itself and the cruise, and how it's more luxurious, and the food and the amenities, all of it definitely does reflect that price point. And then this one does have Wi-Fi. I think we talked about that earlier, which was nice. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's like the best Wi-Fi ever. We couldn't get on some of like the websites that we needed, some things that we do for work, that we were able to access those things, but they did have like a different option if you wanted to get that faster Wi-Fi, which is the Starlink Wi-Fi, which you could do. And moving on to the staff, oh my freaking goodness, like the most incredible staff that goes for both the Oceania staff and the Desire Cruise staff. Everyone is so nice. They go above and beyond. And Oceania, I mean, any kind of accommodation that you needed, like they went above and beyond for you to do that. You can talk about whenever we got food at night.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there, like, this guy, I mean, it was a joke, but we always went up to the late night buffet, and the guy that was in charge of that section was like, oh, if you guys don't come, I'm not going to shut it down, so you can be here. And like one day I asked for something. I said, and they were like, oh, we can get that for you. They would literally, one day we had our hands full of plates. They're like, do you want someone to walk it down to your room for you?
Yeah.
There was a guy that one day was in the buffet or in the in like the formal dining room at lunch, and he was like, "Oh, is it possible for us to not sit in the sun?" The guy was like, "I'll move the sun for you." Like he said it as a joke, but then like he moved them to a table that was in the shade. And it's like they literally would try to do anything to make your stay better. Like I know this sounds funny, but like almost reminded me of like whenever we go visit my mom, who just wants to be accommodating. It's like, do you want any food? I'm like, no, I'm okay. They're like, if you need it though, let us know. Like we're here anytime, anything you wanted. I saw a girl who, she said she really wanted ice cream one night and it was late and there was no ice cream. And I don't know if they overheard her say that, and they went and got her ice cream. Like whatever it was, they would do it for you. And so, yeah, it just felt so, you felt so taken care of.
Yes.
Also, like with the food at the beginning, so at the buffets, they actually serve the food for you, and instead of letting you get your own food, which I'm not used to. And we started thinking about it, and we're like, oh, that's so nice because like it's so much more hygienic. And on a ship like this, keeping everybody as healthy as possible is great. Like I said, there's hand sanitizer signs everywhere. I mean, everything was just so upscale, so nice. It
So
just
clean too.
Yeah,
just like all the amenities, amazing.
yeah, and all the workers just so kind. It really was. And I said, and it's the same thing with Desire staff. Everyone you talk to is just so nice, friendly, welcoming. It's just all around. It's an 11 out of 10 experience.
Other miscellaneous stuff, the guests that we met, oh my gosh, just absolutely incredible. Just the people, the demographic who go on the Desire cruises. Again, we feel like it's just a little bit different because you're traveling, but then also in open lifestyle sensual environment. So you're getting the demographic who likes both versus and it is more of that time commitment. So I think that I don't know if it's more of like tight close knittedness. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just feel like all of the people we met, there were so many just interesting people. It was such a broad spectrum of people who just did so many different things. It was just so many interesting, cool people that we met. I loved being able to talk to people. And even though, yes, we are younger for the demographic, it wasn't like it was difficult for us to find amazing connections and friendships because there really was just so many incredible, awesome people that were just so interesting. It was just so much fun to talk to everybody we talked to on this ship.
I think it's because we have that shared love of both open people and open lifestyle, but then also that love of travel. And it's not travel, it's like a more intense type of travel where we're having to go to, different countries, different places. And not only do you have to balance the socializing aspect of it, then you're also getting off and you're experiencing all of the culture. Like it just feels so different. I don't know how else to explain it other than like having to like go there and like talk to the people and meet people.
Yeah, like I met people who were like, I feel like when I go on normal cruises, like it's just for that lifestyle aspect. Where on here, I met a lot of people who are like, yeah, we love this atmosphere, but we also booked it because we've never been to Istanbul before. Oh, we've always wanted to go to Ephesus. Like you met these people that, like I said, it truly was Bella said, it feels like these people who love to travel and see the world and experience life through that way, but also love this open-minded, fun group of people that you get to share it with. And it truly does feel like a magical pairing. Like it actually really does.
And not saying that people that we've met on other vacations are not like that, but it's just because we don't have that shared experience with them because we're just going to the Caribbean and like we're just going to the beach or but like going ziplining or swimming with dolphins, like whatever it is, like it just feels so different. And because of that, it just feels a different kind of specialness.
Yeah, it's not like in a good way or a bad way. It's just different.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool. And so we'll go ahead and we will jump into the conclusion now. We would so highly recommend Desire Cruise. So if you are a person who likes to just be in that sensual, open-minded space, as whether your lifestyle or you're just a couple who likes to be in that space, you will have such a good time. You'll meet so many amazing people, especially if you want to travel the world, you want to see other places, but you want to be in this space where you feel like you can be open-minded and be like that. It truly is an amazing, amazing trip. I don't think I could like more highly recommend Desire Cruise. Like I said, there is things that obviously that we think could be improved even more, but it is so thoroughly a great trip. We had some of our best days we've ever had on lifestyle vacations or even any vacation really on this ship, and we just so thoroughly enjoyed every second of it. I will say that if you are maybe a younger couple and that's something that's really important to you is finding other younger people, yes, you might not find as many connections in that way if that is specifically what you're looking for, but to us, that should not be a deterrent whatsoever. You are going to make amazing connections with just so many different people, and it is such a cool experience. So no matter what age you are, I think that it is a great cruise, and I think that you're going to have so much fun regardless of any of those things.
Especially if you like that double aspect that we've talked about a lot, where it's like open lifestyle plus being able to travel and experience cool things and see new places. And have that luxuriousness. And so, yeah, definitely absolutely incredible. Loved it. It is a bit more of a time commitment, but other than that, it's just we
But
had
if you can commit the time,
yeah.
I would do it. I really would. It is such a cool trip.
It's so different too. So if you're wanting a different type of experience, luxurious, upscale, it's just if you do go on lifestyle vacations often and you're wanting to try something a little bit new, I think that this would be such a cool thing to do if you're able to.
And we met so many people that had been on their third, fourth Desire cruises. So you always know that when people continue to book the same vacations with the same company over and over and over, it says a lot. And we met so many people that no, we go here. And we saw when people got on, they knew people from other Desire cruises. So it's like the other cruises where you do have these core groups of people who go on these over and over and over. So if you go, like I know if I went, I would see people again that we had already met this time. And I think that's really cool because it does have like a good sense of community in that way.
Especially because it's a smaller, more intimate ship as well. So not only do you have the people who go all of the time, it's like because it is more intimate, you're able to make that connection differently, if that makes sense. And I think that if you are a big fan of the Desire resorts and you like that kind of tight-knit aspect, I think that you'll really like the cruises as well. It is bigger than the resorts, I guess, depending on which cruise that you book, because this one was quite a bit bigger than the resort since it was 600 rooms, but it's not usually 600 rooms. But if you like the flow of the resort and you like that more intimateness, if you're looking for a cruise option that has that type of feel, it's not the exact feel, but more similar, I think that you would really, really like Desire Cruise.
Yeah. So that is our review. I really hope that helped you guys. Sorry if it was kind of long, but we wanted to talk about every single aspect that we could think of that could hopefully let you guys be able to make the most informed decision. We were so excited to go on this because, while yes, you can read about it, there's not that much information about these cruises out there. And so to be able to go and experience it and share it with you guys, so hopefully you can have a better understanding and a better knowledge of if this is the right trip for you or not. We are so thankful that we were able to do this. And once again, so thankful to Desire for being able to partner with us and being able to go on this trip because it really was so special. We're so thankful we got to go. And I said, if this information does help you and you guys are considering going on a Desire cruise in the future, even Desire Resort, if you go to fourplay.com/desire, that's number 4OURPLAY.com/desire, you can book using our link. It doesn't cost you any extra, but it helps us out a ton. It helps us to be able to continue to create content like this, informing people and help people along their lifestyle journey. So if you are going, we'd really appreciate it if you consider using our links. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We will jump into Bella and Jase's weekly obsessions. Maybe we'll keep them fast though, since this has been a long podcast. So why don't you go first?
Okay, my first weekly obsession just is cozy fall vibes in general. So all of the fall things, I have been obsessed with just watching cozy fall vlogs. We've been watching little spooky movies. We're about to start our rewatch of Scream Queens.
Jennifer's Body.
Yeah, Jennifer's Body. It's still hot here in Austin, Texas, but I'm excited for the first crisp fall day. It was nice because we were in Paris right after the cruise and it was cold there and we got a bit of a taste of fall.
It's 94 degrees Fahrenheit right now in Austin in October.
The fall drinks, I've been making a pumpkin spice latte every single night or every single morning. And then other weekly obsession, I talked about it earlier, but Aspen coffee, which also ties into the fall vibe. But Aspen coffee is an alcoholic coffee beverage that is warm, guys. It is warm. It's with Bailey's and
Kahlua
and
Frangelico.
Yes. And it's served warm and it feels like Christmas or like a hug in a cup, and it just makes you feel nice and cozy and warm. And it didn't really make sense on the cruise, but I absolutely loved it. And then my other obsession is, so whenever we were in Greece, we saw these people using these beads. It was mostly older men having these beads. They almost look like prayer beads, but they ended up not being prayer beads, and they're called komboloi. I might be butchering that pronunciation. I apologize if I am, but it translates somewhat into something called worry beads. And so you can kind of think of it, I guess, kind of like a fidget type toy kind of thing, but you can do little tricks with it and you can count the beads. They feel really nice in your hand. And for someone like me who I just like those kinds of things, they just bring me comforts. I have like my Nito nice cube thing. I like that too, but I've been really into using my Comboloy beads, and you like it too.
Yeah, it's
I'm gonna
pretty
make
cool.
you one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And we found it when we were in Santorini.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about
Mykonos.
or Mykonos. Yes. No. Santorini. No. Mykonos. So we didn't talk about our experience at the specific ports here, because I guess it didn't really pertain to the cruise itself. But if you're wanting to see our experience at the ports and in these places, definitely go check out our vlog at foreplay.com/YouTube. Okay, what are your weekly obsessions?
Okay, I got one. It's called It's What's Inside. It's this movie we watched last night, and I don't really know how to describe it. I don't even know what genre it is. I guess it's like a thriller in a sense. It's kind of a mental what's going on. It was a good cast. It was a cool premise for a movie. I think I can give, no, I don't even want to give anything because I think it gives away too much, even if I tell you what the premise is. But it's about this group of people who like go to this house and then these things ensue. And it was just...
That was so generic.
I know, because if I tell you what happens, I feel like I'm going to ruin the first part of the movie for you.
Well, it's kind of like a reunion. So a reunion of people, they all come back to this house and something happens.
Wow, so you do just as you said the word reunion.
No, the reunion part I think makes like a big difference. You can't just have like a group of people that have
It
like
is a reunion, but there's like one key factor that what the movie's about, but I want you to... I didn't know what it's about. It's better if you don't know what it's about, but it is really good. So if you're looking for a movie, I think it's Netflix. Is where we watched it, but really good. So It's What's Inside. The other one is just golf. In general, I've been watching lots of golf YouTube lately, and when we were on the cruise, I liked golf. I've always liked golf. I just never really played that much, and so it makes me feel like maybe I want to get more into golf at some point in my life. I don't know. Maybe I will. I got golf clubs. I should use them. But that's my other obsession. I've just really been enjoying watching golf things and playing golf on my phone. And I enjoyed golf when I was there. So it's kind of a funny obsession, but that's my other obsession, golf. And that's the two obsessions. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. I really, really hope it helps you make some decision on Desire Cruise is right for you. It most likely is because it really was wonderful. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye!
If you'd like to support the show, you can leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to our podcast. All our information will be listed in the show notes below and on our website, fourplay.com. That's number 4, OURPLAY.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we make videos and vlogs about the swinging lifestyle. Head to foreplay.com/YouTube to watch and subscribe. We have the ultimate adult party game for the sexually inclined called Foreplay the Game that's both digital and physical. It's perfect for breaking the ice and spicing up any party. You can find more information at foreplay.com/games. We also have the best swinger lifestyle, kinky, and adult humor clothing and accessories that you can find at foreplay.com/shop. If you're looking to plan a lifestyle destination, booking through our links at foreplay.com/travel really helps support the show and helps us be able to continue to create this type of content for you. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, and more. You can find all our current social media accounts at foreplay.com/socials, and I have an OnlyFans, which you can find at onlyfans.com/BellaLunaVIP. We also have a Facebook group and Discord community and would love for you to join us. You can find the direct links in the show notes below. Lastly, we're on STC and Cassidy at Foreplay, and you can get a free full membership trial by using our link. You can email us at hello@foreplay.com with any questions or comments, or head to foreplay.com/ask. Again, all our information will be listed in the show notes below, and we thank you so much for listening to our podcast. See you in the next one. Bye!